All right, well, yesterday, got this bad boy. Got it delivered from the local big box store. Only problem is, you see that number right there, it's 46 inches. I'm going to show you why that's kind of important here in just a second. All right, here's the problem. This opening, this gate here, is like 46 inches. The deck on that mower is actually like 47 inches, so it will not fit. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to cut out this post, take out those two pieces of wood, screw a 2x4 to that, and build a new gate that's going to take up that space. That will give me about, about a foot of extra room. Let's walk over here to where I've started. Pretty simple gate, going to match the design on the top of my concrete fence, and so it's going to look like that, but it's going to be all wood instead of concrete at the bottom. It'll be kind of a heavy gate. So here's what I've got so far. I've got a 4-foot 2x4, a 4-foot 5/4 board, so I'm going to need 10 of these, I think. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a square, and then we're going to measure diagonals to make sure it's square, and then I can start putting in the slats. All right, so see you on the next step. Okay, I've got my wood. You notice I used my framing square to get that edge, well, that corner relatively square. I've got 2 screws holding that corner. Got one holding that corner. Got one holding that corner. Got one holding that corner. Okay, so what we want to do, if I can do this, if this tape will just hook on something so I can pull it out. And what we want to do is we want to hook the tape right on that, right on that corner. There we go. Lucky. We want to notice the measurement right here, which is right, 67, 15/16, maybe 68. And so we go to the other corner and we hook that on there, and we see that it is a little bit less, 67 and 13/16. So that dimension needs to be a little bit longer. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kick this edge over just a little bit, if it will. See what we got. All that matters is that these 2 dimensions are the same. It's hard to do with one hand. Now we're at a little bit more than 68, and I'm sure that this one will now be 67 and 13/16. A little bit less than that, so I kicked it a little bit too far. So come down here to the other corner and kick it a little bit. Granted, this isn't the most, scientific way of doing things, but we got 67 and just a little bit less than 3/4. So I think I had better luck because I've got those 2 screws in there, keeping that. I mean, for what I'm doing, $67 and almost 3/4. $68. So you get the point. Now what I'm going to do then, I'm going to make sure that that measurement is 67 and 7/8, and that if the diagonals are the same length in a 4-sided, in a quadrilateral. Oh, and you never thought you'd use geometry ever again, did you? If you got a quadrilateral, which means it has 2 parallel sides, And of course, we're making a square. So actually, what we have right now is a rhombus, right? Four equal length sides, but not, and they are parallel to one another, but they do not all make 90-degree angles at the angles. There you go. There's your geometry lesson for today. So I'm going to get each of those two cross measurements to 67 7/8. I'm going to put a few more screws into the corners to make sure it stays stiff. Okay, so we got the it squared up. Put three, need another screw there, but I'll put 3 screws in each corner. Notice they're offset both ways. You know, that's in the middle. Nothing's in the same line anywhere. I just think that makes for a stronger joint, but you know, you can do it any way you want. You want to make a pattern of 4, make a square out of them, that's fine with me. So the next thing to look at is the spacing of our boards. Notice we have 36 3/4 inches between the bottom of the top board and the top of the bottom board. And our 3 boards are 17 inches. So that leaves, you know, I'm not going to overthink this. Basically, it's 37 minus 17 is what? 20? And then if you'll notice, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps. 20 divided by 4 is 5, excuse me. So we want 5 inches between the gaps in the wood. And of course, when we get these in, and as you can see here, what we've done is this back piece more than covers the gap in between these 2 pieces. It leaves a lot of room for air to go through, but if you're looking at it straight ahead, you see there's no gaps. So that's the look I was going for. No gaps. And so if we have a 5-inch gap between those and a board is 5.5 inches, then of course, when you're looking straight on at this gate, you won't be able to see through the gate unless you get right up to it. And so the whole point is for it to not show any light through there, not to be able to see through the slats in the gate if you're standing at the gate level, which is kind of important because dogs, people in this neighborhood don't tend to keep their dogs tied up very well, and so we have dogs coming into the yard all the time, and so I don't want one of them coming up to the gate and being able to see through it. That's kind of the point. They can see a little bit, but not much. All right, so, and that will keep everybody nice and calm, and they'll just move on to their next place to go do what doggies do. All right, we're gonna get these screwed on and flip this over. All right, here we go, all screwed up. All screwed off. Excuse me, not all screwed up. Now we're just gonna flip it over and put the 1, so we need 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces on the back side. Get those cut up and get them on there. Okay, so gotten rid of that post, cut it off as near the ground level as I could. I had my trusty grinder, got one of these nice little cut-offs. See how thin that is? That cut 4 bolts that held the hinges on and the piece of angle iron, and it's barely got any wear to it. So that works out pretty well. That was 1/4-inch thick steel too. Took me about 5 minutes to cut through it. So it was just like this one. You can see what kind of thickness that was. So anyway, now that I have that done, I'm going to put a board up that edge right there, flat against, screw that off, and then I'll have to see how much room I have left because I only made, I didn't want to waste lumber. So it's 4 feet wide and it's about, of course I still have 1 piece to put on each side of this so that we still have this detail right here at the end of each side of the gate. So that gives me 3 more inches. Actually 3 1/4 more inches because it's treated wood. Treated wood's 3 5/8. Regular wood's usually 3 1/2, or 1 1/2, excuse me. The 2-inch nominal dimensional side is usually 1.5 inches for non-treated, 1.5 inches for treated. Not quite sure what that is. I don't know if it's because it's injected with the preservative or not. But anyway, so I got to put a side on each one of these. It's just a 2x4 run down each edge. Screw that off. Put the hinges on. Put that piece of wood up on the concrete wall, and we'll see what we got. Alrighty. All right, here we go. The finished product. I know I skipped over a couple steps, but I think everybody pretty much knew where I was going with it. So I did fill in this edge. Fortunately, I bought an extra piece of this stuff, and so I had enough to fill that in. And the reason I did that, I could have made this wider. I could have made this door wider, but I would have had to buy 5 more boards, which is another $30. I couldn't see spending it when I could just do this instead. And the mower fits. Did have to do a little notch down there. But everything works out. Everything closes properly. So pretty happy with it. Got any questions or comments? Leave in the section below. Like and subscribe. We appreciate when you do. See you on the next one. I got some grass to mow. Oh my goodness.